Wise Up on Air. Thanks for joining us today. First live stream here from the Audio Kinetic Seattle office. It's winter, that's for sure. But the new year off to a great new start. So good to be here with everyone. Glad you're joining us for this AMA today. Ask Me Anything. This is a new exciting thing in the world. You may have even participated in some of these out across the interwebs during this time, and we're excited to take the kind of slow boat and casual approach with you to get some insight on the Wwise 2021.1 beta that we released right before the holidays. Hopefully a few of you have had a chance to put your hands and ears onto the exciting new features. We'll talk a little bit more about those features and jump around and ask folks who are tuned into the chat to throughout this conversation ask questions. A bunch of folks from Audio Kinetic on the development side are participating in the chat as well, and we're just interested to engage in a conversation about your experiences, questions you might have about what's coming up in the next full version, and take the ride with you. So it's good to see some folks from the Audio Kinetic team. Some shout outs. Thanks for joining me. And some of the community. Great to have you here. Some folks I know. Always a pleasure. Thanks for tuning in. And as PDX mentions, we're having a little fireside chat. So to kind of kick things off and get us settled in, I'm going to start by taking that down a notch. I wanted to share some results from a feedback survey that we did on the features from the 2019.2 version of Wwise that's been out since last March. Hopefully some folks out there tuned in have been working inside their development environments on 2019.2. And we reached out to ask folks who had installed 19.2 through the Wwise launcher about their experience, whether we were hitting the mark, and very specifically about a couple of feature areas where we rolled out new workflows and new ways of working with Wwise. And so I wanted to loop back now and share with the community the results of that survey. And so let's go. The first thing I'll say is folks were pretty happy. Happy to have the new evolution of Wwise in 2019.2 last year. It really improved the debugging experience. One of the big stories from 2019.2 was expansion of the profiler tools, specifically profiler filtering. So folks were digging that. We also rolled out, as part of our Unreal integration, a feature called event-based packaging, which aims to streamline the workflows for media management by falling in line with the way that Unreal likes to manage assets. Folks digging that. New spatial audio features as well. I loved this quote. We have yet to come across much of anything we can't find a way to accomplish in Wwise. And as someone who authored in Wwise for 10 odd years, I loved having that inspiration, that idea, reaching for the magic button in Wwise, not even knowing if it was there to accomplish that goal, and finding it and being able to pull off whatever cool interactive audio trick I was interested in. So yeah, that was positive comments from that. Yeah, hey, good to see folks in the chat. Cheers. And then on the constructive side of things, profiler filter changes, the performance of profiling, and workflow regressions were things that came up in the comments, and we'll talk a little bit more about those as we dig specifically into the feedback on the profiler filter. Event-based packaging had a little bit of stability problems out of the gate that we've worked really hard to resolve over the last year as part of bug fixes and stability point releases. And then just general comments about documentation. At Audiokinetic, we have a huge focus on the educational pieces, whether it's our certifications, the Wwise Adventure Game, the Wwise Audio Lab, just so many resources. But we can always do better, and it was great to hear from people about ways that we could improve on the documentation and awareness of things. And we hope that we're continuing to work towards giving Wwise authors what they need to succeed and making that clear. So on to profiling filters. So positive comments. If you're not familiar with the profiler filter, profiling is this way to understand better what's happening at runtime in Wwise, either in the authoring environment or when you're connected to a game, so that you can actually see what's happening and understand it. And the profiler filter gives you this, pretty much exposes you to all of these inner workings of the Wwise sound engine, and gives you the ability to narrow the focus through filtering in order to see exactly what it is you're trying to see. So as a newcomer to Wwise, essential, useful feature to dig deeper. And I love this last comment. I know when I'm in 2019, I'm like, dope, because this feature is missing. So I think a lot of positive feedback about the profiler filter. How about folks in the chat? Are you using it? Is it integral? Is there something missing? Let us know. We're always listening and always interested in your perspective. So please let us know. Be great to hear from you. Some of the constructive comments that we got on this, GameSync and GameObject 3D profiling lost some functionality. You can't see inactive game objects or RTPCs anymore. You can't filter by GameObject ID. These are things that we're aware of, and they got a red dot next to them because they're something that we're actively working on and devoting resources to solving. So look forward to that in the future. Another great suggestion that came from the comments, and something that we kind of felt along the way, but it was great to hear from you because it reinforced this idea of, hey, these filters and these filter expressions are great. Now, how do I save these off so that I can come back to them as I'm going back in day after day to kind of spot check the same kind of things? So this idea of presets for filter expressions and filter queries, it's on our mind. And then lastly, some feedback about performance, responsiveness, the amount of time that you could capture on a larger project, stability. And I'm happy to say that these aspects of the profiler filter and profiling in general, we have been working incrementally to address over the point releases for 2019.2. So with the most recent point release of 2019.2.8, we feel like we have achieved a level of stability that gets people back to work without the kind of unresponsive issues that came from us trying to present all of that data in a way that made it more accessible. And so happy to report that if you're on the latest point release of 19.2, that the profiler filtering should be jamming. Cool. Yeah. Blake, great to hear from you in the chat. Using filter expressions in the profiler has been great. Thank you for that. We definitely feel like it flipped the bit on the previous workflow in the profiler, where a lot of times you were just confronted with tons of information without a lot of ability to focus on what it was you're trying to understand. So these linked views with the filter toolbar, just brings that kind of clarity. So thanks for that, Blake. On to this idea of spatial audio. So some great comments there. It's great to see us going full steam ahead. The most satisfying feature of 19.2. This one was especially cool. When it comes to audio, I'm one who likes to close my eyes to see what's happening. And adding this feature adds even more depth to what I see. And of course, this is the seeing with your ears, and I can really identify with that. Spatial audio brings that next level of communication, of environment, and understanding of what's happening in your game or in the experience you're creating. Some constructive comments that we got back. On the accessibility side, understanding what's happening visually, how to profile that. I'm happy to say that in the 21.1 version of Wwise that's coming out this spring, that you have your hands on as part of the beta right now, hopefully. We've updated the way that you profile rooms and portals, a bunch of other accessibility features in the GameObject 3D viewer. And so not only do we hear you, but we've already been working to enable this greater accessibility for the spatial audio features that we're creating to give you that visual understanding, because it can be kind of abstract. And so this is something that will be part of the 2021.1 features. We could even dig into that a little bit if you'd like. I know we did back on the beta hands-on in mid-December, so if you get a chance or you want to jump back and check that out at some point, we went hands-on with some of the automated geometry, some of the, being able to see it in the profiler. Maybe we'll do a little bit of that today if folks are interested. But I'm happy to say that these are things that we're already delivering for you. And then on the documentation side of things, again, always trying to be better. It's great to get the feedback about what are the missing pieces, what is preventing you from connecting the dots. And so we've gone and reorganized the spatial audio documentation to give it a little bit more clarity, along with documenting all the new features. Stay tuned, because we've got a ton of blog posts coming out that highlight these different things. The spatial audio team's been working super hard to make sure that the power that is unlocked by these new tools and techniques. And so definitely look for that. We are listening. Last thing I'll say is, hey, we're going to do it again. We will survey you sometime later this year, after 2021.1 has been out in the wild for a bit. We'll give you a chance to soak in it and get your hands in the pipeline and try it out. But expect us to come to you again and ask, how's your experience with the newest version of Wwise? Because we're using this to drive the development as we move forward, and we really want to grow Wwise in the direction of you and the way that you're using it, and the way that, as I guess development partners in this, we just want to take that into consideration. So look for that later this year, after 2021.1 is out in the wild. We'll probably ask you about your experience with audio objects and the new routing pipeline in the master mixer hierarchy. Some of those cool new spatial audio features as well. And yeah, so look forward to that. Moving right along, I did want to mention this. We had a great blog just recently from Roompeng talking about event-based packaging. This is that Unreal asset management workflow that I was talking about that we rolled out and has really stepped up to the plate with simplifying the asset management pipeline if you're working with Wwise and Unreal. So we have a great live stream that I did with Benoit Santara. Congratulations, Benoit. And you can dig back in the archives for that. Meanwhile, Roompeng has done a great job of going over the high points of the technology and giving you a clarity into the way the system works. So definitely, if you're working in Unreal, that event-based packaging we think is the future. It unshackles you from the minutia of media management and really provides you some cool tools to be able to just not think about what your assets are up to. It all just kind of gets handled. So definitely dig into that. I'll also mention, as part of this 2021.1 beta, we're rolling out an experimental first step for Wwise Unity addressables. So this is falling right in line with the way that Unity manages packages for the distribution of content, offsetting the load times of things. So if you're working in Unity and you want to jump into the 2021 beta, grab that Wwise Unity integration and try out this new feature that handles Unity addressables. I encourage you to. If we got any folks out there in the chat right now who are interested in this addressables feature, we have one of the AK developers in the chat who can answer any questions that you might have about that, so send them your way. Yeah, cool. And if you haven't seen it already, we've got this GitHub repository. So it's GitHub Audio Kinetic, a couple of different packages already up here, including this new addressables and an addressables demo scene, as well as some of the WAPI stuff as well. So there's that, and yeah, good to see you, Eric. Thanks for rolling out. And yeah, so okay, PDX question. So using the event-based packaging, got a question. So other than the use of legacy implementation when creating a new project, why would you do it any other way? Seriously, is there any reason to use sound banks going forward? And again, he calls out, maybe mobile titles, other console platforms that might require sound banks. So in a nutshell, like, event-based packaging takes the granular approach to media management and breaks things out according to an event. Event-based packaging. Got it. Okay, so an event and its media resources are organized in such a way that when Unreal has a reference to an event, it will pull in the associated media for it. Historically, as PDX mentions, it's like I got to bundle up my events into a sound bank, and that sound bank now has to be loaded and unloaded, manually or using some system. And I think you kind of hit a good point, PDX. It's like if it can just do it for you, great. The sound bank methodology is still there. It's still accessible if you want to do some kind of packaged optimization of your media. So let's say you want to have a sound bank of sounds that are already loaded. You want to put it into memory, you want to leave it there, and you don't want to worry about it. I got Benoit in the chat answering this question probably very directly, which is fantastic. So dig in there. I think that what's cool is with the introduction of event-based packaging, we haven't got rid of sound banks. You can still make the choice to organize your media in whatever way makes sense for your title. And I think that's one of the strengths of Wwise in general, is that we recognize that there are so many different ways to create games and media today that there's not really a one-size-fits-all solution. So by providing the toolkit to you to be able to make those decisions, we think we're doing the best for the most people. So yeah, keep us posted. And great question, PDX. Thanks for jumping in, Benoit, as well. If you haven't seen the Wwise automotive video, just come on. It's so cool. We made this product demo over the last year during the quarantine, and recognizing that safe social distancing was taken into account, it's super cool to see some of my coworkers in Montreal on the ground in this video. It really was a team effort, and it really showcases what we think the future of automotive and sound and that combination could result in. So it's a fun video. You could dig it. And throwback, if you didn't tune into the Wwise tour last December, it was a awesome event that I can't say enough good things about. Looking here at the schedule, we had Simon Ashby give a little state of AK up front, talking about a lot of the cool things that are underway for us. Genshin Impact, this fantastic open world RPG game, had an overview and retrospective from Max Lee and Joe Hoya. Ghost of Tsushima, who's playing that? Who played it? Awesome game. We had the Dr. Reverend Bradley Meyer, Andrew Baresh, and Michelle Herbert come on and share with us their experience. We did deep dives on environmental systems. We did deep dives on the music system. We talked about emotion, games that could make us cry, and just a fantastically told story from the team there at Sucker Punch. Speaking of story, we then had a panel discussion on sound as storytelling. We brought together some of the folks who presented, as well as some other guests, Karen Widener, M. Halberstadt, and Larissa Okada, in a panel discussion about using sound as storytelling. This was I think we all live it. We all probably intuitively reach for these different ways of expressing our medium through sound. And it was cool to be able to unwind a little bit and talk fancy about that with those folks. So Wwise Tour, if you haven't already dug into it, jump back into it. It's cool. It's all chaptered out, right? So, oh yeah, I really want to see the QA for Genshin Impact. Dig. I'm going to jump into that. Yeah. Cool. Thanks for dropping the links in the chat. So good to have everyone here. Thanks. Another cool blog. If you haven't seen it, what even is in the 2021.1 beta? Well, we've got this for you, and it goes over all of the different aspects of 2021. This is all the new features. We're laying it out for you. Is there something you're super excited about? Let us know. Drop it in the chat. I want to hear from you. What's been the coolest epiphany for you with your hands on the beta over the last month? I mean, come on. Audio Object 3D Viewer, we're going to take a little look at that here. I'll go hands-on with it. Speaking of that, I put together a supercut of the object-based audio hands-on that I did for the beta. Clocks in around 20 minutes, give or take a little filler on the edges just to kind of bring you in and send you out. But I think it's a succinct overview of this new way of delivering that higher level of precision that we have in games and in game engines, but have been working towards the accessibility of bringing it directly into the Wwise pipeline. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm just kind of dig into this video, it will give you that high-level overview, hopefully. And if you haven't had your hands on it already in the beta, you can go get registered for that. Do I have? I think I might even have a magic button. No, I tried. No, I tried. Well, we'll get a link to that for the beta registration into the chat, and you can get your hands on it right now. Otherwise, 2021.1 will be coming out in March, so soon enough, the full release will be upon us, thanks to the determination and hard work of everyone at Audiokinetic. And when you get signed up for the beta, we're using the Wwise Q&A as a way to give feedback. So if you're not familiar with the Wwise Q&A, it's on the Audiokinetic website, and you can find the category for beta feedback and let us know what your experience is so far. We have had a few people respond, been really thankful for their input, and it's just another way that we want to hear from you about what your experience is. And that's what this live stream is all about. So I'm going to take a peek into the chat here for a second. Let's see. So what's happening? Oh, James, it's good to see you. Excellent. Deep dive documentation on the features. Yes. So this is cool. Again, as part of the feedback that we got from 19.2, we have a whole host of documentation that's coming as part of the 2021.1 release. So you'll get a bunch more information, and as always, let us know. James, I know you will. And this is to the rest of the folks out there. We're always listening. We're interested to hear your experiences. So yes, documentation is coming. I got a sweet call out from Evan James, loving the new mastering suite, which I guess is not new, but still, I mean, it's still pretty new. I mean, things, I don't know a game that's shipped with it yet. I could be just out of touch, but let me know if you've shipped a game with the mastering suite. Came out middle of last year, I guess, and we're even working it over for the 2021.1 version of Wwise. You'll see it kind of popping up in a different place as you go hands-on with it. But yeah, it's mastering suite. Come on. If you haven't seen it already, let's just bop that open for a second. We're going to drop it here into the effects slot. Yep. Cool. Free of charge. Cross-platform mastering suite. I mean, that looks like that's a UI. It's got colors. it gets groovy. Come on. Not to mention the functionality, right? Parametric EQ, multiband compressor, limiter, master volumes across your channels. Yeah, right? Colors, bubbles. Yeah, bubbles. Love it. Love it. So thank you, Evan. Glad that you're digging it. Let me know if you ship something. People, who's out there using the mastering suite, shipping stuff? Holler at me, because love to hear about your experience with it. We think it's a great addition to this workflow. Having that ability at runtime in games is pretty jamming. So cool. Thanks for that. Wwise 2021 question: is it possible to make platform-specific selections in an audio device, different mix configurations in the system audio device? Boy, am I glad you asked. Let's take a look at that right now, because what you're talking about is, first of all, we've reoriented the audio devices to the top of the audio tab. So now we have it right here. I got that magnifier that I could employ. It's pretty handy. Does that work? What's the hotkey for that again? Boop, 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 boop. Oh, there it is. Yep. Okay, so audio devices. We've got that up here, and as you were saying, can we get platform specifically? Let me get disconnected. And right now we have, two platforms by default. We have the Mac and Windows platform here. We have the system audio device, and I've got it docked here in my layout for this live stream. I'll try to gracefully navigate over to it. And the question about platform specificity. So absolutely, let's unlink this property. And here we are, we're in the Windows platform, and that's cool. We can use that, but maybe on the Mac, we don't have 3D audio. Let's disconnect that. Okay, so now our system audio device won't use 3D audio, and we're off to the races. So yes, absolutely. Other thing that I wanted to show on that, where is that? And let me get reconnected and get this Unreal up and running. Is that for the first time we have a representation of the audio device inside the UI. It's both there and here, and double clicking it brings it up, so we can see now what the settings are. We're profiling in that in the Unreal Wwise Adventure game, and so we can see right now 3D audio is not active. We're in a 2.0 channel configuration, and there's no audio objects right now. So hopefully that tips off the platform-specific settings that you can make on the system audio device. Back here to where this is, those platform-specific settings are available for different main mix, headphone and speaker configurations, allowing system audio objects or not, as well as minimum system audio objects for a platform. So, great question. Thanks for that. Yeah, totally. So let's get that flip back on. I'm going to link this back up. And great question. Yeah, thanks for that. Cool. So, thanks again to everyone for showing up. Good questions. And I did want to kind of show off a cool thing. I've been working in the Wwise Audio Lab, and it's kind of fun. I don't know if folks are tired of watching these objects fly around yet. But as you can see, I don't have any objects. The main rig is 2.0. 3D audio is not active. I'm connected to the game. It's running here. But over in my Windows settings, my spatial sound platform is off. And so I'm just going to flip the switch to one of these. And now objects are toggled on. So just like that, 3D audio has become active. So Wwise has dynamically changed to meet the changes in the output configuration that I've set as a user. And bam, we're like seeing all the cool things happen. We're getting a available system object count, how many are being used, what the main mix configuration is being set in. And over here in the Audio Object 3D Viewer, come on, this is so cool. And what I have is, and I'll get a little focus on this, but we've got this campfire. And there it is. And if I move around, we can see that trailing around. It's pretty cool. But what I really like about this is some changes that I made to support audio objects. And the first one is in the campfire I've always had in the Wwise Audio Lab, 3 layers of sound for the campfire. This kind of rumbling low frequency sound. Let's see what that's up. What do you think? Oh yeah, it's as loud as it'll go. Oh yeah, master audio bus. Let's push that up a little. Cool. All right, folks hearing that? Kind of cool low frequency thing. And as you can see, I'm routing that through the pass-through. And the pass-through, when you're spatial, crank it to 12. All right. Let's go all the way. Okay, great. So I'm sending that through the pass-through, and what the pass-through is that when you're using one of these software object renderers, when you're using headphones, the pass-through is a way to send a stereo channel format that is unfiltered by any spatialization, so it's not processed using HRTFs, and it's also not objectified and processed using any HRTFs. And when I say HRTFs, I mean filters, right? These are filters and proximity technology in order to make it sound positionally accurate in a headphone-based representation. So anyway, campfire is cool. It's got 3 layers. This rumble layer, though, it's got this rich, low-frequency content, and I didn't want these filters touching it, right? Don't mess with my rumble. So I'm sending it to the pass-through, and I'm doing that by leveraging the metadata. Okay? And this is metadata that's been authored for the campfire, and this specific aspect of it, and sending that unfiltered to these headphones, to you actually. So that's what you're hearing right now. Another layer of this is this combustion layer. And let's toggle that on. Okay, so combustion layer. It's a little higher frequency, kind of that mid kind of crackle thing. And let's just watch it flicker here in the distance. And for that mid frequency, what I really wanted is I wanted to still leverage the spatialization. I wanted to leverage the filtering to get that additional level of precision to the placement of this sound in the world. But I didn't want it to be an object. It's not important enough to take that object information. And so I've got some metadata that I've authored here to send it to the main mix. And the main mix in this spatialization setting can be thought of as your spatialized bed. This is a bed of sounds that are not individual objects themselves, but distributed in a way that brings that spatial precision without the accuracy of being an audio object itself. The last piece, and this might get loud, I've seen that before, it's a good one, is the campfire crackling. I'm going to take that down a little bit now that we're all the way here. Okay, cool. Whew. Yeah. So the campfire crackling is cool, right? That's supposed to be these little ash things floating around here. And what I did there is I took and I'm sending those to objects, or I'm sending them through as objects. You can see them kind of popping up here. It is cozy, thank you. Yes. Cozy here by the fire, and you can see the audio objects in the system audio device popping up, taking an object, releasing an object. But what was really fun about that is because these are the positional, they're objects, they're rendered, in space with precision. Wanted to do something kind of fun with it. So what I did is I took and added some randomized automation. And that's what you're seeing here with these crackles popping up and down. And let's just give a little more focus on that. So now we're seeing only the campfire crackling, and these are being randomized positionally relative to the campfire itself. If I swing it around, they kind of stay with it. If I move away, that's cool. Zoom that out a little bit. And so it's pretty much gives you a visual look into your authoring in a way that really helps you understand the choices you've made. In fact, one of the things I found out on my way here to this destination is that the emitter for the campfire was actually oriented 90 degrees in the wrong direction. So getting that kind of visibility, getting that kind of understanding of the sound that you're authoring, having this 3D visualization for it really does unlock something in the way that you create your art and recreate these worlds and these realities. So I thought that was pretty cool. You can also look at, let's see. So yeah, there's the rumble. And again, we're using that profiler filtering. So absolutely handy to have that thin out the noise, because what happens once we block everything, either via solo or filters, we start to see, hey, what's this blue stuff over here? Anyone else feel like going for a dip in the fountain? Meanwhile, keep the questions coming. We got some folks in the chat from Audio Kinetic who are happy to help field some questions. I see some great responses in there, so fantastic. Thank you for that. And this is about trying to hear from you what your experience with the beta has been, if you've been into it. Maybe even just let me know what you're excited about getting your hands on once you do jump into the beta or the full release coming out in March. Keep me posted. Yeah. Campfire and my soothing voice. Yes, I wish we were all sitting around a campfire right now. We'll pretend though. Spatially sounds good. Matthew Jean, nice to see you. But Windows Sonic is what we've been listening to this in, and this is the Windows Spatial Sound environment. But let's try a different one. One of the things that you will have access to if you purchase the plugin for Atmos or DTS Headphone X is the ability to switch between HRTFs and spatialization technologies. So let's flip the switch. And Wwise just magically reinitializes and we keep rolling. So it sounds a little bit different. Kind of cool. Not as many. Looks like we don't have objects available for this. I wonder if we nudge this down to 15. That might not happen automatically. We might have to rebuild to get that minimum system audio objects. Okay. Well, let's try Headphone X. And now we see again dynamically we have 32 system audio objects available. We're using a few of them again for that fire. And yeah, let's go check out the fountain. Alex, good to have you enjoying the fireplace ambience. Yeah, I totally need some hot chocolate.
Hello!
Wow. Hands up who's been in the Wwise Audio Lab. There's a ton of cool functionality in here.
Hello!
Not the least of which is being able to switch to that great hello sound. A couple different ball launchers.
Hello!
Okay, hello. Yeah, cool. So, what about those blue fountain icons popping off in the distance? Did I say blue? Like colors in Wwise? Can I get like a bunch of crazy emojis flooding the chat for colors in Wwise? Because that stuff is dope. Okay, to the fountain. Here we go. All right. So again, we've got a couple different things going on with the fountain. And let's just dig into that on a case-by-case basis. The first thing that we have is this center. So here we go, fountain center. And it looks like that center is going to the main mix, so that it is being spatialized. That's cool. Then we've got this far sound. And looks like we've also chosen to spatialize that. using the main mix and not preserve it as an object. But then back at the fountain overall, we have these individual splashes as they pass by, and those splashing sounds are attached to the particle effects as they're rotating, and they're objectified, so they're getting that additional spatial precision, which is great because as you move around, you can really get a feel for their location in space. And let's just A/B it between stereo the stereo, so we're not doing anything fancy. We look back here to Wwise. We've got stereo channel configuration from our main mix. And let's toggle Sonic for headphones on. Immediately, I'm hearing something that's a little bit brighter. Kind of pushes the sounds out a little bit, and I'm so excited for y'all to get your ears on it, and that's the point of this whole thing. Let's even try Headphone X again. And again, just a different filtering, different spatialization technology, and as authors out there, this is the most exciting thing for me, is having your hands on these tools, having your ears on these technologies, and being able to hear this. And yes, Bernard, great tip. So if you're listening on speakers, wow, probably not the best representation. This is a headphone demonstration of spatialization in audio objects. So if you didn't pop those headphones on, jump back in time, hear the difference. And of course, having these tools in your hands, we know how important it is to have the game as part of our development environment. We know that we can iterate faster if we have a tight loop between our authoring in Wwise and the game when it's running. And the same is true of these spatialization technologies. And one of the things that the Wwise 2021.1 unlocks is that ability for sounds to flow through to these object renderers, and for you to be able to hear them in your environment. So super excited to have folks in there. And this is maybe going to be my favorite answer of the day. You can still do your Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon loudspeakers and get a good approximation, but, right, and yeah, if anyone's wondering, yeah, Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon in quad. That was, again, at a very important time as we were bridging channel configuration evolutions, right? Everyone bought into stereo. We got it, right? Sgt. Pepper's, Pet Sounds from the Beach Boys. Like, there was incredible music created for stereo that really helped people understand the value that new channel format offered over mono sound. Quad was a bit of a footnote in that channel evolution history, and Pink Floyd definitely saw the benefits of having that, to the point where actually all of their concerts from there forward employed quad sound in the stadiums that they were playing. So they believed in that that surround configuration, which I think started with quad and then moved forward, of course, to 5.1, 7.1, 7.1.4, And now we think, this evolutionary leap from a discrete channel count to an object-based representation can allow for the best spatial presentation of sounds. And in games, we've kind of been working that way for a long time. We attach a sound to a game object in a game. That game object has a position, and traditionally we have rendered that position to one of these channel-based formats. We don't need to do that anymore. We can pass that game object position all the way through to the headphone renderer, which spatializes it with the same level of precision that is being communicated by the game engine. So that was a great side note. Thanks for that. Let's take a deep dive in here. Okay, we had a question come up about naming standards. Wow, this is a good conversation. The best advice I can give is have one. That's like number one. Are naming standards important? Yes, have one. But the question goes on a little bit further towards, is it recommended to use spaces in your name? So as you can see in the in the Wwise Audio Lab, we have spaces in the names of these Wwise objects. Or is it better to have underscores in your name? One example. Dashes is another popular one. Be interesting to hear from folks in the chat what their opinions are. I certainly have mine, but it is a ripe discussion, and evergreen. I feel like people in game audio will debate this for years to come. James, thanks for joining us. Cheers. I personally like underscores. And you could see that in these couple of assets that I created here, where I started to throw underscores into it. Does it matter? No, Wwise handles it all for you, and so it's not a big deal. But if you think about the process, to me that's what it comes back to. Like, what's your process from sound or the inception of sound? So whether you're recording a file, pulling from a library, creating something out of thin air using synthesis, that's really where your naming standard should start. And you should be thinking about your naming standard as something that will live all the way through the pipeline. And with that, I would say, preserving aspects of your naming standard when you can from the file level to import. So importing into Wwise, maintaining that naming standard, as well as it moves through the hierarchy. So you bring something in, it has a long name like Campfire Crackling 1. And you can see that as it rolls up to this blend container, we're just calling it Campfire Crackling. Okay, it's losing parts of its information, it's becoming streamlined. And here we've just rolled all of those elements up into Campfire. So it's that process of carrying the naming standard from your source file into Wwise and then into the game. Okay, and where that becomes really important is profiling. So when you start to dig into what is happening in the game at runtime, being able to understand what's happening through the lens of a naming standard that you've decided is probably the most important part. Probably more important than underscores, spaces, or dashes. And so ultimately, I think whatever works in your environment is the best. I like underscores. I think that came from you know, when you're in Windows and you're typing a file path and it's got a space in it and you got to use a % and that somehow doesn't even make sense in my brain. So I'm a big fan of underscores. But ultimately, the most important pieces have a naming standard. The next important piece, know that naming standard, you know, will end up in front of you at the end of the pipeline when you're profiling. So bringing whatever clarity you can to that naming standard will benefit you on the other side when you're trying to understand what's happening in your game. So, good question. Long way around that one, and thank you for that. I'm gonna take a little look in here. What else we got here? Got one here. So great. We had a great question about switching the spatial audio endpoints in the Windows Sonic environment, for instance. The question was, how much does Wwise have to close down and restart? And the answer was the only part that needs to update is the audio device, and Wwise takes care of switching that and without touching any of the other pieces that are in play while you're connected. So great question. Thank you for that. Great to be having these conversations. Another good one, an option for importing individualized HRTFs would be great. That's coming from Michael. Individualized HRTFs. I think it's cool. Are we there yet? I'm not sure. I'd love to hear more about it from your perspective. What's the pipeline from a consumer standpoint, or even from an author standpoint? Do you imagine having this HRTF that lives in Wwise? Does it live in a spatialization renderer? Where is it? I do know that as someone playing on a PS5 with the 3D audio toggled on, I've got 5 different HRTFs that I can choose from. And I thought it was a pretty clever implementation. They ask you to orient the sound of some water so that it feels either below or level with your ears. And so this idea of, okay, maybe we're not to personalized HRTFs yet. Your question kind of speaks towards that future, so I'm all ready for it. Bring it. In the meantime, having your ears on these technologies, hear how they affect your sounds, I think that's the first step towards that. So yeah, definitely keep me posted on what you think the best way to enable that kind of auditioning using a personalized HRTF would be. Anyone out there in the chat tried, there's some technology in Tidal where you can do like a cell phone scan and get some kind of personalized HRTF going with certain content on that streaming service. I'd be interested to hear from folks if that's something that's compelling, if it's cool, if it's fun. Yeah, keep me posted. It's great to have questions from folks who are out there doing the hard thinking about these things, because if you land in a position where you have the opportunity to leverage these technologies, it's good to have done some thought, good to have done some listening tests, and it gets you one step ahead of things if those opportunities present themselves. So it's pretty cool. Looking back in the chat. Yeah, again, great question coming. Thanks so much for that. Taking a drink. Cool, there's some good conversation about Unreal, C++ optimization instead of blueprints. This is always an interesting topic when it comes up inside a developer. This idea that myself, not a programmer, I could blueprint for days and end up with one of those beautiful spaghetti drawings and a totally working system, but not necessarily optimized at the end of the day, which is, I think, this idea of taking that blueprint and optimizing it is very compelling and interesting side of what we do in game audio. It's pretty cool. But not a lot of info about it. It does lean a little bit more programmer friendly, and that's an interesting tip. I wonder if that's something that we would do. Does using 3D objects affect how the sounds interact with the Reflect plugin? I'm glad you asked. Thank you. Let's check this out. So I'm going to dump out of here and jump into this scene. If y'all haven't seen the Astrolab, this is a cool little test case where, you get it spawned up.
You're screwing up your grandkids'
And
health
you
right
get
now.
this
That's right.
great
Listen to our epigenetics episode.
Yeah, junk food is
test bed
ubiquitous now, and it wasn't in
to be able
my grandparents' day,
to
No, they had lame.
hear different surfaces and different aspects of sound as it's moving. You got a tick sound, got some white noise, which I swapped out for the fire so I could audition that in here. We're back to the fireside chat, so let me just take that down a couple more notches. Yep. Okay, cool. Okay, so the question was, does using 3D objects affect how the sounds interact with the Reflect plugin? I'm connected here. I'm actually going to go to this view. And one of the things we can see in this view, this is the Game Object 3D viewer. And I think there's some folks in the chat who could probably answer this question faster than me, but I'm just going to kind of, show don't tell kind of thing. So what we see here is we see the object in this room as it rotates around the listener. And if that isn't cool, I don't know. Kind of spoiled. It's pretty cool. But right now we're in an anechoic chamber, so there's no reflections. And in this room, we have the ability to audition those reflections, and I think I know that it's going to be cool. So let's just flip the concrete switch. And so now what we see is we see the room extent. We see the rotation of that object as it flies around. And we also see the reflection rays that are being drawn, and these little speakers, which are the, if you go back to the Spatial audio live stream series that we did where we talked about Wwise Reflect and the Reflect plugin, these are those bounces that are being projected as early reflections from the sound source. And I think, let's see if I get something else. Yeah. Same kind of thing. And so these reflect instances can be objects. So you can objectify those reflections, and they will be rendered using their position by object renderer, just like any other sound. So the early reflection delay tap becomes its own object if you want it to, and of course you have full control of that in how you route things, so you can make that choice. And we're excited for you to be able to toggle between that kind of thing when you have your ears on it, when you have your hands on the tools, and make those comparison decisions. You know, what sounds good using objects? What do I need to maintain the full frequency of? These are the kind of things that we're really looking forward to hearing. The choices you make, the outcome of your decision-making process. So definitely keep us posted on that. Digging back into some other questions. And hey, Xavier in the chat had a great answer. First thing Reflect does, like all reverbs, is downmix the sound to mono before creating spatialized delay copies. So not really, but Reflect is capable of outputting each image source as a separate object. So it's kind of a little bit of this, a little bit of that. There's some beautiful technology under the hood that presents itself effortlessly thanks to the hard work of Xavier and the development teams at Audio Kinetic. So thank you for that answer, Xavier. Great to have you in the chat, and really fun working with objects in the 2021.1 beta and forthcoming release of 2021.1 in March of this year. So cool. Cool. Let's see. Other good questions. Turn off raise in. Oh yeah, great. Sweet hot tip from Nate in the chat. Turn off the raise. Oh yeah. That's even cooler. Okay, so now we're seeing, yes, the reflection paths from the object as it rotates. Around that room in those what did Xavier call them? Shadow. Yeah, spatialized delay copies. Yeah. Sometimes they call them shadow sources, but that's just kind of, that's just weird. Increasing the order reflection too. Cool. Let's see, that's back here. Sound options. Let's go fourth order. All the way up. So that's up to a fourth order reflection. So that's 4 delay taps on those early reflections being calculated in that room. Thanks for that suggestion, Benoit. I mean, visual, right? We're visual creatures working with audio, and sometimes it just helps to understand, what does fourth order even mean? Oh, it means all of the things, right? So let's see. So that's pretty cool. I wanted to change the room. Let's go from concrete to wood. Yeah. That's pretty cool. You got that crazy meter up here, yeah. All right. That's some objects. It's pretty cool. That's the wood. Drywall. And again, this is auditioning things that we take for granted in the real world. But when you're working with games, when you're working with recreating these environments for whatever your experience is, like, these are not things that we take for granted right now. These are things that from scratch we need to enable within these environments in order to get this higher level of detail, this kind of spatial precision. And so being able to hear what the room material sounds like and easily swap between those and how that affects your content, it's really powerful. It's powerful stuff. And Wwise Audio Lab, available today. You could go grab it. It does not have the features of 2021 in it yet. That'll be coming out shortly after we release the full version in March. But again, just out of the box, huge resource for being able to audition these different things. It's built for you to be able to understand things. And like I said, I hacked it to drop in this campfire instead of white noise. We got this great
So you,
dialogue.
the future grandfather listening today,
Uh-huh.
you're screwing up your grandkids.
Change that room
health
size.
That's right.
program. Go listen to our epigenetics episode.
Yeah, junk food is ubiquitous now, and it wasn't in my grandparents' day.
No,
You know?
no, they had lame diets.
Pretty cool.
Yeah,
I can only
of
listen to
Whole
those
Foods
guys
and-
for so long, though. So encourage you to get your ears on it. Let's see what else. How's this AMA format been? People enjoying it? Doing okay? I don't really know what to expect, but some great questions, and so I'm powering through. I'm going to take a peek and see what we got. Alright. Oh yeah, I knocked some of those down without even thinking. PDX got a question. CPU usage of spatialized voices. Let's take a look at how that's working. I even have it. So, did I have an object count for this? So I'm in a pretty low, I'm in a 32 object count platform. Again, I'm auditioning right now with the DTS Headphone X, peaking around 24, 26 objects, and the CPU, we can watch that go on here. This is with Reflect running. This is with reflections as objects, 2%. It's not too bad. So let's flip it back to Windows Spatial and see if we get even more. Okay, so we're still at 22 objects. We're at fourth order reflections. Yeah, it's holding steady. 2%, 20 objects. Yeah, but again, I think what we're most excited about is for you to get your hands on it, put it through the paces, let us know how it performs. The other thing that we'd be really interested in, and this is what a beta is for, I think, as much as it's for you to have access to all of these cool tools and toys, we're really looking for your input on how does this hold up across different output configurations. So you're going to try the headphone stuff, cool, but maybe you got the 7.1 system. How does it sound? Not necessarily objectively, but just how's it working? Like, does it work? We're testing it as hard as we can across all these different configurations. both in the studio as well as in our development environments. But one of the things we count on you for is just to put it through its paces, the regular day-to-day workflow that you're used to. And please reach out, let us know. Is it holding up to the demands of your development environment? Whether you're using a 2.0 speaker system, headphone-based on a platform, or you've got the crazy 714 system with the height channels, and it's all happening there in physical space. Let us know how the beta holds up. These are things, like I said at the top of the live stream, that we take to heart and we channel right into development. And so we're always listening and looking out for that feedback. I'm rounding up on an hour and a half and thinking, yeah, I'm going to tie this off here in a minute. In the context of this CPU usage, the question of what are my system configs, and I guess I'm going here. No. How about system information? There's the system config. There you go. So something to think about there as far as giving context to that 2%. Is it going to be 2% on a mobile phone? Probably not. 2% on my 6-year-old Chromebook? Well, no, not exactly. Although running Linux, I might be able to get those numbers, so it's kind of cool. Not going to do it though. But if you do it, let us know how it performs. We're interested in that kind of feedback. You got a couple different ways that you can reach out to us. As I mentioned before, we've got the Wwise Q&A, where you can submit questions, you can give feedback on these different topic areas, spatial audio, the Impactor plugin, the mastering suite, the new authoring plugin API, Wwise authoring query language, wackle, wackle, wackle. Some of the things that you've been seeing as we've been going. Meter history. You see how I'm jumping back in time here and my meters are keeping up with my profile data? This is new in 2021.1 and it is awesome. I'll get back into live mode and I'm right back where the game is at. But being able to jump around and see meter history, dang. Some new wappy stuff, that Unity addressables that I'm talking about. Cool new pipeline augmentation, in addition to, as Benoit mentioned in the chat, Wappy in the Wwise Picker. You got some great new functionality that comes with bringing Wappy into the Wwise Picker in Unity, the ability to play events through it, really moving outward in the best possible way. So the Wwise Q&A is always here for you. Please send that feedback. We want to hear from you. We want to know what is cool, maybe what's not cool. Keep us posted as you keep your hands on things. Groovy. Okay. I think I'm going to... Well, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to turn these down. And that ends our fireside chat. Thank you for joining us today. I had fun. Great questions from folks. Encouraging to register for that beta. If you haven't already put your hands and ears into the 2021.1 features, definitely jump in. We're interested to hear more about your experience with it. For a big overview of those features, you can jump into the Audiokinetic blog. We've got a 2021.1 What's New Beta Edition. You got a button here to register for the Wwise beta. Jump in, keep us posted. Super excited to get this out the door and into development environments. Reminder that you can't ship with the beta. I wouldn't do it. In fact, don't do it. Coming in March, we'll have the full release, and it'll be ready for you to build into your development environments and make some really cool sounding experiences for folks out there, because ultimately that's what we're trying to enable is your artistry with sound interactively towards these experiences. So we've all been living a little distance, living inside of the screen, and I hope you're all taking care of yourselves, taking care of each other. Wishing you the best out there. So many good folks in the chat. I really appreciate the help of Audio Kinetic developers and support from the community, hanging out and kicking it this afternoon. It's been a good time for me. And yeah, live streaming. I'm enjoying it. So thanks a lot. Drop feedback anytime and stay good.